All right, so two guys that we had to move from yesterday morning to today due to Denver weather, but we're so glad to have two really strong performers in the home improvement industry, and they happen to be brothers, and they're very youthful. They bring an energy and an enthusiasm to this business that I was so fortunate to be able to get them to schedule this and for them both to be here. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about them now. They are Nathan Richmond and Nick Richmond. Nathan runs Mad City Windows in Madison, Wisconsin. Nick runs Matrix Basement Finishing Systems in Chicago. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, and then we're going to roll a video and let them get going. Nathan Richmond began selling home improvements for Paramount Improvements in Flint, Michigan in 2002 and became the company's first $1 million salesperson in 2004. He and his brother Nick started Sunscape Sunrooms in 2006 out of Kalamazoo. Nathan joined with Mad City Windows in 2010 as their sales and marketing manager, then became partner and vice president in 2011. In 2015, he started and served as president of Mad City's Windows of Green Bay, and then he became president of the overall Mad City organization in 2018. Nathan has grown Mad City from $5 million in net sales in 2010 to $50 million, 50 in net sales in 2018. Now I'll tell you a little bit about his brother. I can't remember which one is younger or older. They'll tell you. Nick Richmond. He started Matrix Basement Systems. They're number 74 on the 2018 Top 500. So Nick, in less than 9 years, has turned his passion for remodeling into a multi-million-dollar business. In 2019, they're expected to hit $32 million in revenue. His start in the industry began with window sales, and within a very short time, he was promoted to sales management and worked for several large home improvement companies before venturing out on his own. Nick recognizes the importance of giving back to the community, and his ugliest basement contest has made a very big marketing success. Nick is also a Fred Case Entrepreneur of the Year. So a lot to say about these two guys, but let's get it rolling right now. Please welcome Nathan and Nick Richmond.
It looks like an ordinary day in the USA, but in the city of Flint, Michigan, all is excitement. Even the small fry are buzzing.
General Motors confirmed it today. It is going to close plants employing almost 30,000 workers.
Today, we are announcing the closing of 11 of our older plants.
While Detroit and Pontiac will certainly be hurt by the shutdowns, the effect on Flint is absolutely devastating.
For nearly 2 years, residents have been subjected to drinking water with elevated levels of lead.
Hopefully no one's nervous. Thank you, Qualified Remodeler, Top 500, and all the sponsors for putting on such a great event and giving my brother and I the opportunity to stand here before such an established group of professionals in this great industry, to be able to tell our story and share with you some of our core principles that drive our business success today. By show of hands, do we have anyone here in the room today from Flint, Michigan? My sister-in-law, Naomi. Okay, that doesn't count. I know you're from Flint. Nobody else from Flint, okay. Grand Blanc, okay, we'll count that. I went to school at Indian Hill Elementary School, believe it or not. So here's the thing I want to do. I want to accomplish two things today. Nathan and I, we're not being paid to be here today to speak before you, but there's two things I want to accomplish today. The first thing is I want to bring some energy and some excitement to this room. How do you guys feel about that? The second thing I want you guys to do is remember the conversation and the speech that we're about to give you today, and not for our benefit, but for yours, because we have a hell of a story to tell you. Now, the first thing I want you guys to do is everybody stand up for me. Can you do that? What is Flint town exactly? Everybody always likes to ask my brother and I, what is it about you guys? Is it something in the blood? Well, yeah, naturally, it's my brother. But other than that, it's Flint town. It's a swagger. It's a culture. Now, we heard Tony Hody give a great speech yesterday where he had everyone stand up and we talked about the two clap, right? Now, I'm going to give you guys something a little bit different. It's called the Flint town. Now, on the count of three, I want everyone to give me a hearty, I want a meaty, serious Flint town. Can you guys give me that? All right. 1, 2, 3. Flint town. All right. What do you think?
You a little more.
You might not make it out of Flint alive if you bring that weak stuff to Flint. Let's give this one more go, okay? I know it's the last day. Everybody was out drinking last night. I think I propped a few of you up at the bar, if I'm not mistaken. Let's give this one more go. 1, 2, 3. Flint town! All right, you can sit down. Thank you for that. What is Flint town exactly? Well, it's a culture, it's a swagger, it's a thing you can't really describe that you carry with you through life if you're fortunate enough to be from the great town of Flint, Michigan, like my brother and I, Nathan. In our bloodline, the Richmond bloodline, it all started with Granny and Grandpa Richmond, that picture in the middle, from 1947, where our grandfather Philip was a naval officer and served in World War II, and met and fell in love with our wonderful Grandma Jan in Seattle, Washington, where he later moved her back to Flint, where they built a home and raised our father, Steve, pictured on the right. Here's Nick and Nate. You see the picture to the far left, wearing the skull shirts. This is the difference between my mother and my father, okay? Who do you think dressed us over here on this one? Dad. And our mother, of course, always had us matching. You know, it's funny because growing up, I was always a spokesperson. I was the front man for this guy. I think he was conditioning himself to take on this career of being a sales leader and a leader in this industry. And he used to say, hey, Nick, can you go ask Dad if we can come inside, Nick? Hey, Nick, could you ask Dad if we can go get some ice cream? He was always pushing me. And preparing for this talk today, I said, hey, Nate, big brother, I'm sure you probably want to lead off and do the intro, right? No, Nick, no. You go ahead, you do it. So I guess some things never change. I think the story we want to tell you about our upbringing ties into the root of why we're all here today. You know, when people think about Flint, Michigan, they think about horrible things, such as the water crisis, the poverty levels, the crime. For an entire decade, Flint held the #1 ranking nationally as the murder capital of the world. But for my brother and I believe we remember Flint much differently. We remember Flint as a town that was full of pride. We remember Flint as a town that taught you how to be tough and resilient and bounce back from challenges and obstacles. And we were fortunate, in hindsight, to be raised and brought up in the great town of Flint, Michigan. There was a little bit of a scarcity mentality, a poverty of the mind, however, that we learned about later in life. And that was if you were a man, especially in Flint, the culture, the idea was that you would grow up, get your high school diploma or your GED, and if you were lucky, you could land yourself a job working in the shop for General Motors. That's what everyone was aspiring to be. Now, luckily for my brother and I, our father worked in the shop his entire life. Now, our father, much different than us. I don't think I'd be standing here today if I got his genes. 6'5", 260 pounds, a beard, drove a Harley, drank a fifth of black velvet for breakfast. He was a mean, tough guy, and he was smart. And he used to come home from work covered in grease and sweat. And he would tell us, if you want something, you have to go out and get it. Do not follow in my footsteps. Do not follow in my footsteps. Let my choices serve as the example of what not to do. What not to do. You guys are talented. And if you work hard and you push yourselves, you can become something great. Don't be like your dad. There were no handouts growing up for my brother and I. If we wanted something, we had to go out and get it. Now, on the surface, we may seem very different, my brother and I, Nate, as you can see here in this picture. Okay, don't piss him off. Of course, me, the better looking of the two, a little more outgoing, sometimes cocky to a fault. My brother, the quiet, analytical, methodical beast that runs his company like a general. But if you cut through it all and you were to x-ray what it is that drives my brother and I, and you could see through to our core, I think you would see we're very much identical. Later on in life, I went off to school where I met my wonderful wife, Nikki, and I pursued a degree in sales and business marketing at a major university. My brother stayed back in Flint, where he attended University of Michigan, Flint. And I would come home and visit my brother and sister-in-law, Naomi, and their family, and I would notice a new TV, a new car in the driveway, new furniture. And I'd say, Nate, what are you doing? Are you selling drugs? He said, no, I'm selling windows. I said, windows? I don't know anything about windows. All I know is ours were painted shut, and they were single pane and covered in frost. I said, I want in. You think you could help me? You heard Patrick mention that Nathan was the first $1 million producer for the company that we both started with. They had an interesting training philosophy. I sat down for the interview, and they said, do you think you can sell like your brother Nate? I said, I think I can outsell him all day. I said, okay, good, you're hired. And their training program was pretty simple. They gave you a sample kit, a lead, and a contract, and they said, good luck. The first appointment I ran in Grand Rapids, Michigan, I'll never forget it. This house was ancient. They wanted 36 windows replaced. They wanted to enlarge this opening and close this opening. I was lost, and I walked out defeated. And I thought to myself, what did I get myself into? Thanks, big brother. And I called him on the phone, and I said, Nate, you got to help me. Well, fortunately, my brother was willing to train me, mentor me, and walk me through what is the catalyst of our business today, which is going into a home and giving a masterful presentation. This thing's bouncing around on me a little bit. Now, while I attended college at Western Michigan University, I heard the professors talk to the group, and they would say, if you study hard and you get the right GPA and you make the right connections and you're lucky, you'll land yourself a job, entry level, making $30,000 to $35,000 a year. And I thought to myself, I just made that in the last 2 months selling windows. Why the hell would I want to do that? And of course, my brother and I, we made the choice that many great salespeople make. We decided to venture off onto our own, start our own business. Who here in the room started off selling in sales? Okay. We started a nice little business in Kalamazoo, Michigan, didn't we? We pushed $3 to $4 million a year in windows and sunrooms. Nathan and I, at the age of 22 and 24 years old, we were making a lot of money. Life was good. And then guess what happened? 2007, 2008 hit, and it hit hard. Took every business out at the knees. The economy tanked, banks shut down their home improvement lending, and we had to start all over again. And it was a rude awakening. But in hindsight, it was one of the greatest things we could have ever experienced at a young age for Nathan and I. There's so many things I could tell you in such a short period of time. We were asked to give you some background, talk about some of our core principles in just 20 minutes. To talk about a lifetime of experiences in 20 minutes is an awful task. What I can tell you today is that Nathan and I, in just 10 short years on the rebound, have built 2 organizations independently of one another that if we were to combine them, would produce over $100 million a year in this wonderful business. Can I get a Flint town for that? Flint town. All right. I want to give some acknowledgement, too, because I feel like we work really hard, right? This could be one of the hardest things you could do next to probably owning a restaurant. Like my father-in-law, Rick Coletti, owns a restaurant in Chicago that's been there for 4 generations, over 70 years. And my wonderful wife, Nikki, and Naomi, my sister-in-law, like he has to stand up for a minute. Could you do that? When you're going through this journey and you're going through these challenges, I think what's overlooked sometimes is the importance of who's there next to you. Because at the end of the day, when we lay our head down on our pillow and we look next to us, there's one person there. Nino Vitale, one of my mentors, used to tell me, he said, Italian women, they love hard and they hate hard too. And it's so nice to have a woman that'll humble you and keep you in check and tell you what no one else will. Your breath stinks. Your speech was horrible. Here's my family today, and Nathan's family, if there's one thing we do well outside of home improvement, it's building the family. We have 8 children between the two of us, and a tremendous why and a tremendous drive to grow and push our businesses every day. Here's my 2 sons, Grant and Anthony, with the Easter Bunny there. Remind me a lot of my brother and I growing up. The bloodline continues. So that's a little background on Nathan and I. Now, we were asked to boot to tell you a little bit about some of the core strengths and management styles that drive our business today. I believe our Flint upbringing did an awful lot for us. For me, it started out being mentored by a great man by the name of Nino Vitale. And Nino and I, we'd get together every now and then. You see this picture, it was back in 2005. We would take our sales team down to Timo Sunrooms, and he would take us out to dinner, and he would fill the table with so much food, you would get sick to your stomach if you were to eat it all. I'd open up the menu and say, put that away. I got this. And he beat it into my head that the fish stinks from the head down. That's a Sicilian expression. It all starts with you as the owner of your organization. And at Matrix and at Mad City, we make it a point to have a family environment where we make the people who work for us feel as if they are a part of our family. My goal is to make it so that they feel as if they're more important than anything, more important than myself or the success of the business. The other thing is generous incentives. When you have a definite, worthwhile written goal with a precise date attached to it, you will become successful. That man on the top left put me to the test. He loved Harley Davidsons. I said, if you can do $300,000 in business, I'll buy you a Harley Davidson. Now, this was back before I could afford to buy a Schwinn bicycle. And you know what this guy goes out and does? $320,000 in business. There he is on his motorcycle in front of Matrix. I believe in incentivizing everyone. It doesn't matter if it's the guy pushing the broom in the warehouse, if it's the delivery crew, or my top sales rep. Everyone in my company has an incentive that's attached to benchmarks and metrics where they will be handsomely rewarded if they go above and beyond. And that builds a commitment from them to run the business as if it's their own. My brother is an expert at this as well. You'll see some of his incentives he's offered to his team. Joe Jacobson, Troy Free, $50,000 bonus at the end of the year for being the top sales producer in his company. Here he is again in front of his brand new Cadillac CTS. Nate's going to tell you in a minute how you can make enough money to afford these things. And then finally, disconnecting from the business and giving your team a chance to unplug from what is a stressful grind. I find it very important to take them out of the element of Matrix basement systems and bath systems and bring the spouses and the significant others into it as well so they can have the support of those women and men they go home to every day after a long, stressful day. I want to make sure I have their support as well. And last but not least, recognition is huge for us, giving out awards to those people who go above and beyond. And the final thing that ties into, I'm running a little tight on time, a little history, takes a minute, is sense of urgency. Who here feels they have a sense of urgency? Our sense of urgency stems from fear, and fear is the number one motivator in life from my experiences. Our fear is going back to that dark place where we were born and raised. Our fear is losing everything in an instant, because that's how fast it can be taken away from you. And if you don't have a sense of urgency every single day, and you're not bringing that to your company, and you don't have employees that feel that same sense of urgency, it's very difficult to run an organization at this level. My brother and I now collectively have over 600 people who depend on our business, over 300 employees, 300 subcontractors that depend on us to make the right decisions. I believe that sense of urgency is the thing that is at the core of every successful business. Without further ado, I give my brother the stage. Big brother, thank you for making me the spokesperson, my friend.
Thanks,
Nathan
Nick.
Richmond.
All right. Well, thanks, Nick, for that introduction. By the way, I didn't pick the pictures from this presentation. That was Nick's idea there, but we'll be at Magic Mike later on. So I know Patrick gave a little background on Mad City Windows and Bass. Just to give a quick background on that, You know, when I first got to Mad City, there really wasn't a lot to work with at the time. They were selling mostly low-profit roofing at the time. And they had built a really great name in the area of Madison, Wisconsin from a brand name point of view. But unfortunately, they were on the verge of going out of business. $800,000 in debt. I found out the first payroll I was there, we made payroll by $1. So literally, you know, I was starting from scratch. We have one salesman from that time today at Mad City. As you can see, the growth in 2010, my first year there, we did $5.4 million. By 2011, we wiped the slate clean on the debt. So there's zero debt. We turned a profit. We turned a profit in 2010 as well. And we had our first $1 million sales producer, who was Dominic, who's here today, and he's also our sales trainer now. Okay, so fast forward to 2018. A lot of fast forwarding there, but we did $51 million in business last year. And now we're up to $24 million producers. 8 of those guys are doing $2 million, okay? This is all in the state of Wisconsin, in Madison, Green Bay, and Milwaukee. So we're talking one state, 2 products, windows and baths account for 95% of our business. So real quick, just want to go over maybe some things that would benefit you as a business as to some of the keys to our success, okay? And I want to say from the outset that we didn't invent a lot of things we do the right way, okay? I got to give credit to Tony Hody over here. Literally, in 2011, we had no canvassing program at all, no face-to-face marketing. He came in, we launched a canvassing program, and that proliferated into Walmart stores, malls, movie theaters. We're in gas stations now. His stuff really works. And the biggest message I want to say today is, you know, the thing I see in the industry is people not following what works in practical terms, because we say it, we listen to guys like Tony, Rick Grosso, Dave Yoho, Brian Smith, and we don't actually do those things. That's what I find anyway. But his stuff is great. We did literally $600,000 out of one Walmart in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, with a population of 42,000, to give you an idea. So just a few things here. Number one, we keep profitability top of mind. And what I mean by that, volume is great, guys, and like your earlier speaker said, and we could go on, but profitability should be ahead of volume. So what do we focus on when it comes to that? Obviously, first and foremost, you got to set the right price point. So in our market, so we do a lot of volume, right? We do every form of marketing under the sun, including media, internet, the whole gambit, right? We're also the most expensive company in Wisconsin, by far. So we're not just, you know, pushing the volume. Number 2, have a strong marketing mix. So I would say err on the side of being aggressive in the marketing. Now, number 1 allows you to do number 2. Because obviously if you're trading dollars, you're not going to be able to be aggressive on the marketing. So for us, we take every opportunity we can get. And then lastly, a big thing I want to give a shout out to Brian Smith, which is we are always recruiting salesmen, and literally we used to shut down our hiring process in November, December of the year, figuring we're going into the slow season. Now we literally hire and train year round, and we've grown to over 40 salesmen, which I got to give credit to Dominic for on the training as well. So real brief there, guys, but I just want to give you a little background, and again, shout out to Tony and Rick Grosso as well for all the success we've had. Thank you.
Good job, big brother. Can we get one more Flint Town? Flint Town! All right, let's go have a drink, huh? Thank you.